Meet Liza. She's real, she's ambitious, and she just graduated. She walked across the stage, grabbed that diploma, and landed a solid job offer in Texas, making 70K a year. On paper, she's winning, but behind the celebratory smiles and family photo, Liza is carrying a heavy silent burden. She has a mountain of student loans, a car loan, and credit card balances totaling of 100K. But most of us have been right where Liza is standing. That quiet, nagging anxiety when you look at your phone at night, realizing your hard earned degree came with a six-figure price tag. In this video, we aren't just going to look at spreadsheets. We are going to look at how Liza and you can systematically destroy this debt, protect your peace of mind, and build a realistic path to true freedom. Before we spend a single dollar, we have to look at the reality of the numbers. A 70K salary is amazing, but what actually hits your bank account? Since Liza is in Texas, she gets a major shield 0% state income tax. This is massive help. After accounting for federal taxes, FICA, health insurance, and contributing just enough to grab her company's 4% retirement match, which is free money she cannot afford to leave on the table. Her actual take home pay is 4400 a month. This is her engine. 4400 is all she is taking home, and everything we do next depends on how she commands this engine. Now let's look at the monster in the room. Liza has three distinct debts dragging her down. First, a massive 90K student loan at a 9% interest rate, 6K a car loan at 10% interest rate, and third, 4,000 in a credit card balance at a 20% interest rate. If Liza only makes the minute payments, she's bleeding 791 every single month just in interest. That isn't even touching the principal. That is the money vanishing into thin air, paying for her past instead of her future. This interest drag is what keeps people trapping in a cycle of survival, unable to catch their breath. To see what we can do about it, we have to look at how she lives. Lisa wants a normal life. She rents a modest one-bedroom apartment in Texas for 1600. She pays her bills, buys groceries, set aside a little for car maintenance, and leaves 400 a month to eat out and socialize. She isn't living like a monk. After all her living expenses and those mandatory minimum debt payments, she has exactly 700 left over at the end of the month. Write this down, 700. This surplus is her lifeline. This is the seed of her freedom. It's not about how much she makes, it's about what she does with this remaining 700. But here is the absolute truth that nobody wants to hear. You cannot buy your way out of a debt problem. Before we look at any strategies, we have to establish the golden rule. Liza cannot inflate her lifestyle. Every second she gets a raise and thinks, I deserve a new car or a new luxury vacation to reward myself, the math completely breaks. Personal finance is, Personal finance is 20% head knowledge and 80% behavior. It requires looking beyond the daily noise of social media where everyone is showing off a lifestyle they probably financed with debt. If Liza doesn't protect her 700, dollar in surplus, she stays trapped. That's all, period. So, how do we attack this? Normally, the personal finance community is split into two camps. The debt snowball, which pays the smallest balance first for the psychological wins, and the debt avalanche, which mathematically attacks the highest interest rate first. But Liza has what I call the ultimate coincidence because her smallest debt also happens to be her highest interest rate. So both method aligns perfectly in this case. If she stays in her apartment and strictly uses her 700 monthly surplus to roll over her payments as each debt dies, she will be completely debt free in 7.9 years. It's a solid plan, but 8 years is a long time to live under that cloud. Let's look at how we can accelerate this. What if she's willing to make a temporary focused sacrifice? If Liza decides to get a roommate and split a two-bedroom apartment and utilities, her fixed cost plummet. Suddenly, her monthly surplus leaps from 700 to a massive 1400, for exactly 1481 a month. By throwing this extra cash at her loan, she doesn't just have she doesn't just save up a few months. She crosses all 100K of her debt in just 3.1 years. She saves almost 5 years of her life. Yes, sharing a kitchen is a sacrifice, but is 3 years of sharing a space worth buying back 5 years of absolute freedom? That's a behavioral trade off only she can decide. What if she keeps her one bedroom apartment but decides to do a side hustle to bring in an extra 500 a month? Now her monthly surplus rises to 1200. By using the exact same rollover method, she crosses her credit card in 3 months, her car loan in 4, and wipes out her student loans shortly after. Total time to debt free 3.4 years. She keeps her apartment, works a little harder on the weekends, and still saves over 4 years compared to doing nothing. It's another highly viable path. Now let's look at a silent strategy, optimizing the number without changing her lifestyle or working extra 2 hours. What if Liza shops around and refinances her debt, lowering her overall interest rate by just 2%? By dropping her student loan at 7% and a car loan to 8%, less of her money goes to the bankers and more goes to her principal. With zero lifestyle changes, this simple administrative move saves 4 months of her lifetime and saves her 6,800 in interest. It shows that simply understanding how interest works can save you thousands of dollars. What if she focuses her energy on career growth? Instead of exhausting herself with a side hustle, Lisa spends her first year working incredibly hard at her day job. In year 2, she gets promoted or switches companies, securing a 10,000 raise. Because Texas has no state income tax, almost that entire raise translates directly into her paycheck, boosting her monthly surplus to 1270. This career accelerated path gets her completely debt free in just 3.2 years without ever sacrificing her private apartment. Let's look at the board. Here are her choices. The baseline: keep her apartment, change nothing, debt free in 4.4 years. Refinance: swap interest rate, debt free in 4.1 years. Side hustle: keep her apartment, trade weekend for cash, debt free in 3.4 years. Roommate: share a space, maximize saving, debt free in 3.1 years. A realistic target is right in the middle, 3.2 years. If she refinances in 1 year and secures a career jump in year 2, she clears 100K of debt in about 39 months without ever having to share her apartment. But here is where the story gets beautiful. Once Liza crosses the finish line at year 3, she is debt free. But she doesn't stop. She has built the muscle of discipline. She is used to living on a budget. She takes her former debt payments and channels 1700 a month directly into investments. Combined with her company's ongoing 401k match, by year 10, her investment portfolio explodes to 250k. In just 10 years, Liza goes from negative 100k to a positive $250,000. That is the power of compounding. That is the feeling of absolute freedom. If Liza can do this, so can you. It starts with defending your surplus, ignoring the daily noise, and staying disciplined on the big things. Drop a comment below. Which path would you choose? Team roommate or team side hustle? Let me know, and I will see you in the next video. Thank you.